Teachers of Reddit, what is your "this student is so smart it's scary" story? One of my kindergartners just knows multiplication, and not just the basic 5s or 10s. In the beginning when his parents told me, I played along with 2 by 2 or 10x10, but you can tell him 17x14 and he knows it instantly. So cool to watch. My daughter was like that at 3. My sister is a kindergarten teacher and she just loves telling people she taught my daughter multiplication as a toddler. Really, she was distracting her in a store, and my daughter was counting by 2s. My sister said, "Can you do that with 3s?" My daughter thought about it and then just did it. They went through this all the way to the 7s in 10 minutes. My sis told her it was called multiplication and to this day takes credit for it. My daughter is currently in 6th grade, taking both Algebra 1 and Geometry. She isn't a genius or prodigy. She isn't doing so well in history. Probably because, for example, instead of taking notes on the Haitian Revolution yesterday, she started writing all the exponents for 3. She was proud to show me she got all the way to 3 to the 50th. Some people just feel numbers and enjoy them more than other things. Makes me feel dumb when I took geometry in 9th grade. You should never let someone being exceptional make you feel dumb. Someone having greater success does not at all take away from your own. Being average is not a bad thing, at all. So certainly being above average enough to be 2 or more years ahead in math is still a great thing. I hate our society's dismissal of the average content life. True success is defined individually and true joy often comes from what we tend to dismiss as mundane. And if the pep talk doesn't sink in, try this one. You are probably better than my daughter at quite a few other things. The aforementioned history. She runs like an awkward giraffe. Her reading comprehension is shockingly bad for someone who taught herself to read at 3. She has terrible anxiety that cripples her at times. Her hand-eye coordination is comic. She cannot memorize anything. And she is lazy. Very few people who excel at one thing excel at them all. Take joy in being well-rounded and just live your best life. I had a student ask for an extension on their paper because they were representing our nation in the World Science Festival. They came in 3rd, and the paper was an A+. Now I don't have an excuse to keep putting off my research revisions. Yes, you do. Just make sure you get at least 3rd. Nice. My oldest had a friend and classmate who missed the first 2 weeks of school because she was swimming internationally on the National Canadian Junior Swim Team. The school tried to give her a 0 on every piece of schoolwork during that 2 weeks for unexcused absences. A crock for a number of reasons. They had to appeal all the way to the superintendent, who took about 5 seconds to reverse the decision. I used a commercial fish to pay for college. One year I was 2 weeks late because we were out to sea and the season went later than usual. When I got back, all of my teachers dropped me 1 letter grade automatically per school policy. Another teacher put it up for a class vote whether I could still continue to attend the class. Luckily my classmates were nice. Other teachers made comments about how I was lazy when I just came from a job where 20-hour work days were common. I tried to plead my case, but they wouldn't budge on the issue and still didn't seem to understand how anyone could miss 2 weeks of school. I still ended up with straight B's that semester. My math teacher did THT with me too, except THT the decision wasn't reversed. I was doing a 500-piece puzzle with some kids. I was a preschool teacher. We finished the puzzle, except for one piece, which was nowhere to be found. Kid comes and takes one look at the puzzle on the table, says, "Oh, are you missing that? I know where it is." Reaches into another completely different 500-piece puzzle, rummages for like 10 seconds, pulls the piece out, fits it in. I ask him how he knew it was there. He said he had done the other puzzle for a bit and noticed it. I asked him how long ago. "Christmas," he says. It was February at the time. Kid was maybe 5 at the time. Might be more memory than intelligence, but that was crazy to see. Such a great kid, in somewhat dire circumstance. I hope he's gotten all the opportunities he deserved. 5-year-old memory is the best memory. I'm at the point where if I forget something in class, where I put my keys, what page we were on yesterday, what color James colored his duck, I just ask them. They always know. Exactly. I don't even ask my wife where I misplaced stuff. Now I ask my 3 years old. My kid is weird though. He'll pretend he doesn't know where obvious things are or lie about knowing his numbers. He'll literally count 1, 2, 8, 6, 3, 4, 9, 7, 5, 10. But when I sneak up on him sometimes when he's alone in a room, he's counting normally 1, 2, 10 to himself. Very odd. Maybe he's a freaking genius and plays dumb when you're around to let you correct him and feel important. Or the classic I don't know. Bullet you don't know. Everything is I don't know. I stopped asking how her day at school was or what did you learn today. Now I ask what made you smile or what made you happy. She still gives me the I don't know now phrase not as much. She seems to be pretty excited about art though. I like to ask her where did Michelangelo paint the ceiling? Listening to her 5-year-old trying to say Sistine Chapel brings me joy. I think she already finding her favorites. Monet seems to be in the lead right now. I had to Google who exactly painted Lilliputs when she talked about them. I once had a pre-kindergartner who could read and cried because he was so upset with how dumb the rest of the kids were. My mum would write little notes for preschool me and stick them in my lunchbox. My teacher noticed I could read them and would have me read them to the class every day after that. I cried, but from embarrassment lol. Sad thing is that feeling will haunt him his whole life. Not necessarily. I could read really well before kindergarten, but it wasn't because I was smart. It was because I was the oldest child of a stay-at-home mum who spent all day doting on me and teaching me cool things. I was a genius until 6th grade. Then I was average, and now I'm stupid. Point being, there's a chance he'll feel better in a couple years when the rest of the kids catch up. Read chapter books in preschool. Now I'm a dipit can relate. Oh man, this. How many wasting your potential speeches did you get when you just couldn't figure it out? Had a 1st grader figure out exponents on his own. That's just the way he was raised. More power to him. Hey, lay off the factorials until he gets a little older. He holds most of the power in that family. Family kid. We had a 4-year-old in preschool. He was sitting under the table writing down numbers for a long time. He had no time to talk to us. When he came out and we looked at what he had been doing, he said he wrote down all the multiplications. It turns out his brother in 5th grade was learning the multiplication table, and this little brother really wanted to do the same, but did not have a multiplication table. He counted on his fingers to add each column, and got the table right. A few days later he knew multiplication. He would also comment on dates. If someone told they had their birthday on the 12th of June, he would say that is in 184 days almost immediately. On an excursion we passed some statues with birth and death dates, and he would casually sum up. He was 78 years and 110 days old, she was born 33 years and 120 days before him etc. I think he was maybe more focused and willing to understand, than necessarily so smart. If he was right about the days that's definitely very smart for a 4-year-old. I'm 26 and can't even do that. Yeah, definitely. I skimmed over that part, but I would have still been impressed if the kid was in elementary school. I'd be impressed if it was anyone. Unless it was someone who worked raguki with dates and large date intervals. I wouldn't fault them for not knowing. Focus and willpower are absolutely foundational to intelligence. The lazy genius is a trope overused in Hollywood. A true genius must have a mix of motivation and intelligence. Once you reach a point of natural pattern matching, it's all about commitment and curiosity. There's a really smart kid in my AP chemistry class that never studies or pays attention. He just plays some game on his computer pretending to take notes. Our teacher sometimes notices he never looked up once and asks him a hard question to try and catch him off guard, but he always answers it immediately. He usually says he's able to teach himself the content while taking quizzes which helps him for the test. He's extremely smart, but he does tons of drugs so I'm not sure how his brain is still not damaged yet. I think he's one of those people that's a lazy genius. I taught high school math. One of my freshman students divided 1134 by 63 in his head in less than a second. I let him finish the problem, and then after he arrived at his answer, I asked him, how did you do that? He looked at me with this blank stare, as if he was thinking, you can't do that. He proceeded to say, well, I doubled 63 and then multiplied that by 10, and then I saw that 1134 was just the difference of those two numbers, so 18. Looked at me like it was nothing. I told him good work and moved on. I'm only above average at a few things, but one of them is mental math. When I saw that this kid could do this calculation that I couldn't, I was so happy. It was one of my happiest moments as a teacher. I didn't help him in that moment, but to know I played a small part in his math education felt so good. Well, I doubled 63 and then multiplied that by 10, and then I saw that 1134 was just the difference of those two numbers, so 18. I feel so stupid, because I can't even wrap my head around the explanation. He did 63x20 to see if he could get close to 1134 pretty much, and did the rest by counting the distance. What you do is, if you know the result is a full number, 63x20 is pretty close to 1134. A little too big. The last number is a 4. 8x3 end in a 4. So you know the answer has to be 63x18. Summary. Do an easy math to get as close as possible. 63x2x10. 1260. Wrong answer, though. Too high. Subtract 1134 from 1260. 126. He already did part of the math in his head with the 63x2. 63x2 equals 126. So two of those 2063s were making it wrong. So, instead of 20 it's 18.